Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and happy fall. I passed a sign today that said, fall is proof that change is beautiful. And if that just doesn't give you butterflies, my name is Shelby, and on behalf of Twill, I am absolutely thrilled to welcome you to our webinar today, How to Get Unstuck and Do More of What You Love. I'd like to thank you so much for being here and trusting us with your time. Today's subject matter is a personal favorite of mine, but also one that many of you have requested that we speak to. Finding and forming the right path is ever elusive, right? It's an infatuation that we all share in wanting to have more control over our personal and professional trajectories. This collective yearning to align with what we enjoy, with how we spend our time, and to build lives that we're both proud of and present to. In today's webinar, our panelists will cover how to select goals for whole life happiness, 3 ways to customize your reinvention strategy to play to your strengths, the secret to turbocharge and take control of your progress. I'm honored to host Coach Pamela Mitchell, who I will be introducing in just a moment's time. And while we give everyone a minute to sign on today, I would love to get to know you all a little bit. Can you please share your name and where you're calling in from in the chat? We have Nita from Chicago, Illinois. Welcome. Jennifer in North Carolina. People coming in from Salt Lake City, Texas, Florida, my hometown state, SF Bay Area, Virginia, Canada, Wyoming, London, Kansas, Alabama, Philadelphia, Lafayette, Indianapolis, I believe, Western Canada, all over America. What an absolute joy, all over the world, actually, to gather here together. Wow. I'm so happy that you could all be here today. We value the presence of this audience joining in to connect through learning. Before we get started, I want to go over just a few details. Today's webinar will be recorded and available on our content channel, The Upside, in a few days' time. It will also be sent to the email you used to sign up for today's webinar in about a week. Please feel free to share it with anyone who couldn't be with us here live today. Now is also a great time to grab a pencil and paper if you are one to take notes like myself. This webinar will be chock full of tips that you will not want to forget. We'll be opening it up for a Q&A at the very end of today's presentation, so please stay tuned for that. It's going to be fantastic, super engaging. I'm going to ask that you write your questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screens. We'll try our best to address them all. And there's a really neat upvote option so that if there's a question you'd love to see answered, please make sure to upvote it. We will not be sharing a separate copy of today's PowerPoint presentation, but again, you'll be able to view the recording on demand at your convenience later on. If you have any questions in the meantime, please email team@twill.health. I'll pop that email in the chat in just a moment. And with that, I would like to introduce our expert today, Coach Pamela Mitchell. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, I am so thrilled to be here with you all today. Just so fabulous. And yeah, we're going to do this all about reinvention. So let me begin sharing my screen so we can dive into it here.
Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Shelby, by the way, as well. All right. So we are going to talk about how to reinvent yourself. Change. Really, it's all about change. And I created a company called the Reinvention Institute in 2003. So I have been helping people change for many, many years now. And I'm here to talk to you about how you can create that for yourself. So the first thing that we're going to talk to is the journey to reinvention. So I'm going to share a bit about my journey to reinvention and how I became a reinvention coach. And then we're going to have a little poll because I want to know where you guys are on your journey to reinvention. But first, let me tell you a little bit about me. So as I said, I'm Coach Pamela. I am the founder and CEO of the Reinvention Institute. And as I said, I began this in 2003, and this was long before anybody was having conversations about reinvention. You may have heard about me in different areas like Fortune Magazine or New York Times or CNN or whatever. But long before I was like out in the world talking about reinvention, I was like you. I was stuck in a career and a life that just didn't fit me, right? I happened to be really, really unhappy. And there was nothing around to help me. Back in that era, there were no coaches, there were no books, there was no Reinvention Institute to help me figure out what I wanted to do. So my dream was to be on Wall Street, and I worked really hard to get to that dream. I didn't come from like a background that had a lot of stuff. You know, my grandfather was a garbage man. My grandmother was a crossing guard. I was raised by a single mother. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. So I tell you all of this to let you know that it was a big deal for me to get to Wall Street. It was huge. And so I accomplished this dream, and then I got there and I felt like it didn't fit. Now, how many of you, well, we're not doing a poll, but I want you to just think for a moment, like, have you ever had a dream where you got there and it just didn't fit? And you just like don't want to tell anybody that it didn't fit because you worked so hard to get there? Well, that was me. So I kind of stuffed it down, but it was really painful. And but for 5 years, I just stuck it out. I was like, okay, I got to make this work. And then eventually the politics of the organization changed, and it just got very ugly very quickly. And I decided, you know what, I got to go. And I left without a clue about what I wanted to do next. I had no plan. And because I hadn't planned on quitting, I had no money either, really. So I'm here to tell you, don't do that. So if you're thinking, I hate what I'm doing and I'm going to go, no, don't do that. It's a very stressful, painful way. And as I said, there was nothing out in the world at that moment. It was all about climbing the ladder in your current career, but there was nothing about how to switch ladders. So I had to figure it out the hard way. And there were lots of tears. I made pretty much every mistake that you're probably afraid of making, you know, embarrassing myself in front of people, trying to go down paths that ended up in dead ends, running out of money, like all those things. But I solved the problem and I made the leap to the entertainment field. And it was wonderful. And I spent close to 10 years negotiating overseas partnership deals for major entertainment companies. And then one morning I woke up and I said, you know what? This has been a great run and I'm ready for something different. And that's when I pulled those reinvention skills out of my pocket. And I said, you know, I'm going to create that company that I wished had existed when I was so painfully like unhappy in my job, in my career. I'm going to teach people to go through this journey that I went through so that nobody has to go through the stress and the pain and the sadness and fear that I went through. So that's my story. And that's how I became a reinvention coach. So now it's just, I want to have a quick poll. Where are you guys on your reinvention journey? Like there are 3 options. Are you thinking about it? Are you actively exploring your option? Okay, now see, it says option, but let's say plural, options, because a little typo that I made there, but options, plural. Or are you in the midst of change? Where are you in your reinvention journey? We need a little Jeopardy music here, Shelby. Do, 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 do. I feel like I want a little like soundtrack to all this. Okay, so I see that just shy of half of you are thinking about it, that a little over 25% are actively exploring, and then close to 30% are in the midst of change. All right. So all of you are in a moment where you are open. And here's what I want to say to you. I am just thrilled to be your coach and your guide. You can make it happen. You can turn the life that you dream of into the life that you actually lead. So let's talk about how you get that done right now. All right. There we go. All right. So the first steps of reinvention, and there are 2. Number 1, reinvention starts with a vision for your life. And that's unusual because many people come to us and they say, Coach Pamela, I just need to figure out what I want to do next, specifically job-wise. That's usually the impetus of all of it. But what we teach and what I've learned over these years is that reinvention has the ability to deliver so much more than just a job and a career. And what my philosophy is that careers are a mechanism to deliver a life that you love. Like, why do we work? We work because we want a life, right? So we're wanting to be fulfilled professionally. We want to be engaged. We want to feel passionate about it. But there are other things that we want in life too. Like probably, most of us are working here because it brings in some cash flow. So we want to have the cash flow and we want that career to facilitate the life that we dream of. And one of the biggest pain points that people come to us for is because the career that they have doesn't deliver the life that they want, or it conflicts with the life that they want. Let me give you an example. Maybe you're a parent and you have a very demanding job that does not allow you to spend time at home with your kids or give you the kind of flexibility to maybe attend some of their school functions or things like that. And that's painful to you because you don't want to miss that era of your life. And so now your job is conflicting with the life that you want. Or maybe you're a person that just really needs to feel like passionate about what you do. Like I'm that person. And so when I was on Wall Street, like my vision of life was like, oh, I want to wake up every morning excited about what I do. That wasn't what was happening. So your vision of your life is where you want to begin, because then we can reverse engineer what career can deliver that life so that you know that when you make this shift, that you're not only going to get the career that you want, but you're also going to get the life that you want. So we begin with a vision, and there's an exercise that we do in particular. It's called your ideal day. I've got my little notes here. So ideal day exercise, and we're just going to go through the first layer of it, because I stepped through it in a little bit more detail in the courses that we do and in my audiobooks as well. But first layer is to envision your ideal day. Like, so you wake up in the morning. It's not just like, oh, here's what I'm doing. No, we're going to walk through this ideal day. You're going to wake up in the morning. Where are you? Open your eyes. What's around you? Who's next to you or not? And then you get out of bed and you walk down and you start getting ready for your day. And again, who's surrounding you? You look out the window. What do you see? Do you see your current environment or do you see something different? We had a client that really looked out the window and they saw, they lived in a small studio in New York City. But when they did this exercise, they looked out the window and they wanted to see a beach, like they wanted to see some water. So what do you want to see when you look out the window? And then take yourself through this day. You're going to start then after that with work. Like you're going to say, okay, I'm going to begin with work, but it's not about what you're doing. It's the experience of work. So are you leaving your home? And if you are, what's your commute like? Where are you headed? Are you headed to like a cool office in the center of the city with a small team where you guys are doing that, or a big corporate environment? Or are you just headed down the hall to your home office? Again, it's your ideal day. So you get to make it whatever you want. And then you just continue to take yourself through this day. Like, who are you talking to? How many people are you talking to? Some people are like, I just want to put on my headphones and do what I want to do. That's my ideal day. Others need a lot of engagement. They want to be out meeting with people. So it's up to you. You get to craft it. And then again, after work, what are you doing? How are you enjoying yourself? Are you going, if you're a parent, are you going to your children's activities, watching the games or whatever it is, whatever it is that is your most joyous experience of life, put it in that ideal day. And then eventually you're going to expand it to your ideal life. So that's the foundation. That's how you get your vision of what you want. And then, as I said, we begin to reverse engineer what careers can deliver that. However, there is something really critical that you have to understand about reinvention, and that it works on two levels. Now, it works on the level, and that's what most people come to us for. So they think, okay, I've got my vision. Now, what do I do to make this happen? That's the outer level, the tactics of the actual search or creation of that reinvention change. But there's an inner level that happens to be just as critical for reinvention. And that inner level is like who you must become in order to feel happy. Oh, well, actually, not happy and fulfilled. I mean, yes, you will feel happy and fulfilled, but who you need to become to accomplish the dreams that you've mapped out. So I have this saying that we have to grow into being the person who can have the life we say we want. So it's so important. I'm going to repeat that. We have to grow into being the person who can have the life we say we want. So whatever goal you have set, there is a journey of inner growth that has to happen while you're trying to create that. The two must happen together. Let me tell you what happens if you ignore this inner work. First of all, if you're out there trying to do the tactics, but you're not doing the inner work, and the inner work are like your beliefs, your mindset, your subconscious patterns that might be playing themselves out, that you have to actually have a practice of awareness and shifting your behaviors. But if you're not doing that work, it's like driving with the parking brake on. So you can get a few places, but you're not going to get as far as fast. And it's like a lot of stress and a lot of strain and a lot of wear and tear. So that's what it's like to be out in the world trying to do the tactical side of reinvention, of making this change without doing the inner work. So you have to identify what is the inner work that I need to do. Now, some people say, Coach Pamela, I'm good on that front. But here's what I'm going to say to you, if that's what is going through your head, is that the evidence is clear. If you're not living that life right now, then there is some growth that is necessary. Because if you didn't need to grow, you would already be living your dream. So by the very fact that there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be indicates that there is also growth that needs to happen. So you want to do the inner work first. Otherwise, like I said, parking brake, but also when you get there, it's so important. When you get there, you want to be able to sustain that goal. So it's possible to push, right? It's possible to push and try to just kind of white knuckle it and get there, but it's not sustainable because you haven't grown and done the inner work, the mindset work, the belief system work. So you can get there, but then you can't sustain it. It doesn't feel good when you're there because now you've forced your way into your dream, but you haven't grown to match it. So inner work first. All right, let's move on from that. Let's talk about this, okay? So we're talking about inner work and outer work, and the next piece of all of this are goals. So you've got your vision, right? Vision is the big picture. So the question is, once you've got your vision, how do you translate that into goals? So it's a step-by-step process. And you want to, again, select your goals, not just a career goal, but a goal for whole life happiness. And what we do is we use this model called the three-legged stool. So you have work and career, which is the obvious professional one that people come to us for. You have personal and lifestyle. That's what we talk about in terms of how you want to live. And then there's the spirit level. And by that, I don't mean religion or spiritual. It's that growth piece that we talked about just a moment ago. How do you need to grow in order to have the work, career goals that you want and the personal lifestyle goals that you want? So to accomplish those, what's the growth journey that you must be on? That's the spirit category. So the way that you do this is you start by looking at the components of your ideal day. So whatever was in that, like if you wanted to move to the beach or, switch your career so you had more flexibility for your kids or whatever it was. I mean, like, look, heck, there could be a personal lifestyle goal of getting more sleep. I talk about this in my Audible original, Pivot and Pursue It. Actually, maybe Mastering the Skill of Reinvention. I can't remember which one I talk about it, but I talk about it a lot because sleep is a great goal because it's a foundational goal. So you're going to look at what are the ingredients that make up all of your whole life success? And you're going to pull from each one of these components in looking at your vision. So you're going to say, what's the career change that I want to bring about that can help my vision come to reality? So you're going to pull that out. Then you're going to say, what kind of personal or lifestyle changes do I need to make that vision happen, right? So what kind of flexibility, what kind of relationships, what health goals do I have that would support that vision that I want? What kind of hobbies are a part of that? Like, what are you doing after you've left your work for the day or whatever it is? And then, as I said, spirit. How do you need to grow emotionally in order to accomplish all of these things? What mental shift do you need to make in order to live the life that you've envisioned? What blocking beliefs do you need to clear in order to make that leap to that vision? And what's the one pattern that's standing between you and your accomplishment of that? Those are the questions of the spirit category. And that's so important that I want to I'm going to read them through again. If you've got your pen and paper, write these down because if you can answer these questions already, it's like releasing the parking brake. You have just turbocharged your results. So I'm going to read these again, write them down. How do you need to grow emotionally in order to have the vision, the life happiness that you seek? What mental shift do you need to make in order to live your vision fully? So what mental shift do you need to make in order to live your vision fully? What blocking belief do you need to release? So, actually, I just had a Reinvention Master Plan session. Somebody came in, and Master Plan is where we do a deep dive for 90 minutes. And that particular client had a blocking belief that she couldn't be happy and do good in the world, because doing good in the world was really important to her. So that those two were incompatible. She didn't even realize that was a blocking belief. We had to coach through it. And then once she realized, like, oh my God, I said, well, then, because it's so important to you to do good in the world, if you believe you can't be happy and do that, then you'll never be happy. And it's like a light bulb went on. Like if you have a vision for being like having a more fulfilling, happier life, but this is important to you too, you have to make sure that your beliefs are congruent with what you want to create. So blocking beliefs are key. And then what's the one pattern that stands between you and the highest expression of your dreams? So this particular client's pattern was like basically leaning into the hard stuff. Like if it was hard and painful, this client leaned in. And that pattern stood between her and enjoying life, right? That's what she wanted. So that pattern had to shift. And this client had to have a pattern of leaning into fun and pleasure, which felt very uncomfortable and unfamiliar for her. But she had to shift that pattern in order to reach the vision and the goals that she wanted. Okay, now we've talked about goals, we have talked about vision, but this is not a cookie cutter approach. So there's no, there are frameworks that you follow, but within those frameworks, you have to customize your reinvention. It's important because, again, you want it to work for you. So there's no wrong way or right way. There is your way to execute the key pieces. So in order to do that, you've got to customize your strategy. So we're going to talk about that next. All right, so there are 3 ways to customize your reinvention strategy. And so now you've got those goals and you're going to map an action plan. Like, okay, so I've got my 3 goals, work and career goal, I've got my personal lifestyle goal, and I've got my growth goal, my spirit goal. And I'm going to map out an action plan. And I can't tell you exactly what your action plan should be right now because everyone's got a different action plan, right? But what I can tell you is that however you're mapping this out, you want to do it according to these 3 ways. Number 1 is your learning style. Number 2 is your personal interaction style. And number 3 is your reinvention personality. So we are going to go through each one of those. Okay, so learning. There are 3 basic learning styles: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So your primary learning style is the approach that works best for you to learn and absorb information. And this is important in reinvention because you're on a journey of something new. So you're going to be learning and absorbing all kinds of new things to get from where you are to where you want to be. So you've got to know your learning style and then customize this action that you map out to fit that. So if your primary learning style is visual, you learn by seeing, right? Obviously. This means that you need to read, like you need to read an ebook or a regular book or watch a video to anchor information in your head. So knowing that's very, very important because you're going to want to structure how you take in information to process and create this plan and all of that according to that visual style. If your primary learning style is auditory, you learn by hearing. So you need to hear things in order to learn. So you're going to be listening to podcasts or audiobooks or even having conversations with people, talking, right? So talking it through, like hearing that, or even hearing yourself process things. So that's an auditory learning style. That's what you're going to want to do and focus on those areas. If your primary learning style is kinesthetic, you need to experience it, right? You need to feel it. So you're the one that skips the instructions and just goes right into trying to put things together. And so what that means in reinvention, you're going to be the person signing up for the live class or shadowing someone. You're going to go for the experiential learning. When you are wondering, one of the key questions that people have is, how do I know when I get there? And I'm digressing just a bit, but it's related to this. How do I know when I get there? Like, how do I know this is the right goal? Okay. How do I know this is the right goal? How do I know that when I get there, I'm going to be happy and fulfilled? So there are kind of 2 ways to answer this question. One is through experience, like the experiential piece. And if you happen to be a kinesthetic person, the more you can experience it to see how it feels, the better it is. But one thing that everybody should do, whether or not you're kinesthetic and whether or not learning, a lot of times experiencing it isn't actually open to you. You won't know until you get there from the experiential standpoint. So the way you find out whether or not something is going to be good for you or make you happy is you ask the downside questions. Now I'm going to say that again. How you can test whether or not something, a goal, a picture you have in your mind is going to make you happy is to ask the downside questions. What are the downsides of this? Now, this is something that I did not do when I was going to Wall Street. I was all caught up in the fantasy of what I thought it would be like, and all of the things. Oh, I'm going to be traveling, and I'm going to be working with money and all these things. And that's all exciting to me. And all that was true, but I never asked the downside questions. And every vision, everything that you do has a downside. And if you ask those downside questions, 2 things happen. Number 1, you know what you're walking into. You have a fuller picture of what you're walking into. And number 2, you get to make the decision about whether or not the downsides are worth the upsides are worth dealing with the downsides. So flip that around. Whether or not all the upsides that you get are worth dealing with the downsides. And, downsides change according to the person. So for Wall Street, one of the downsides is that it's very ego driven and money is king, right? So that's a downside for me. That's not a downside for someone who is motivated that way, but it's a downside for someone like me who's motivated by human connection and people, who will put people first. Well, that was like a conflict with the values of Wall Street. So if I had asked that, I might have realized in advance that I was a bad fit for that industry and, been able to navigate myself right up front into an industry that was a better fit, which, as it turned out, entertainment was a fabulous fit because entertainment is a relationship-driven industry. All about relationships, especially in what I did, which was partnership deals. So you found a partner, you helped them launch the business in the country, you helped them be successful. That was right up my alley. All relationships, all about people, building relationships. So yes, the deals were important. Yes, the money was important, but the people was front and center. And that suited me much better. So ask your downside question. That's how you will know upfront, this downside's worth it. And because, by the way, entertainment also is filled with egos, right? It's also filled with egos. But I knew that because all of those upsides of relationship and all the other things and being interested in the topic, like I was interested in entertainment and media, I was not that interested in finance. All of those things were outweighed the downsides of having to deal with egos. I'm like, you know what? If I got all this other stuff, I'm cool with dealing with egos. And that turned out to be true. So asking that downside question, being willing to really take in that information and be honest with yourself about either, yes, I can deal with it, and not try to kid yourself like, but if I get more money, blah, blah. Nope. Honestly. Are you okay with it? 100%. Like, it's fine. I'm not going to be like, I'll be like, okay, that's it. That's just table stakes for my dream. All right, let's move on to personal interaction style. So there are 3 personal interaction styles as you are mapping out your action plan to get to where you want to go from where you are. First personal interaction style is solo. So you're this person if the idea of a group networking experience strikes fear in your heart, okay? You do not need to do that. So I can feel like that collective relaxation, like, oh, Coach Pamela, I don't. No, you don't. No, you do not. So you don't have to go to group networking events or do all that if you are solo. You are made for one-on-one conversations. So you should be focusing on having coffees with people or even virtual coffees in today's world. Like, I do that a lot. Like, who wants to get on a plane? So I go have virtual coffees with all kinds of people. So this is where you can connect with a person one-on-one and play to your strengths. So when you are looking at, okay, how am I going to do the actions of my action plan? Look at that solo. So maybe if there's a personal or a lifestyle goal of a hobby that you want, you be the person to go get a single trainer or a single coach as opposed to the person who's in the group class, right? So let's talk about the second personal interaction style, which is partner. So that's like, you like to have a buddy with you. So you're not so hot on doing like by yourself, but you want a buddy with you. And that buddy gives you that confidence and support. So if we go back to that model of like just doing something on the lifestyle thing with the one-on-one, you're going to have just a single coach. The buddy might be like a Pilates duet, like you and somebody else, you go for the coach. So there's 2 of you because that gives you motivation and it holds you accountable. So if your thing is partner, then do your action steps to play to that strength. And then the third is group. And that's the person who the group networking events are made for. You love working the room because that's just who you are. And you like a crowd because it gives you multiple opportunities to make connections. play to that strength. Like group classes, you might be that person like, I just want, like, that's where I draw my energy from, is the group. So I need a group class. I cannot be just me and someone else, or God forbid, me by myself. Nope. I want that group. So those are the three things: solo, partner, or group. That's how you interact. And you want to analyze what you're doing to play to that strength. Now, the third is your reinvention personality type. And in my years as coach, one of the things that I've seen, one of the biggest mistakes I've seen aspiring reinventors make is crafting like this action plan, their strategy, in a way that conflicts with their reinvention personality. And that makes their journey a lot harder. Now, here's the thing. It takes 8 questions to identify your reinvention personality. And I obviously cannot go through all 8 questions here, but I'm going to go through each profile, and then you will have a chance to self-identify, because probably one of them is going to feel like, oh yeah, that fits me. But if you want to find out your reinvention personality, like specifically, you can go over to planetreinvention.com/Twill, and I'll put that up later, and actually take the 8-question quiz for free. All right, so let's go through the 3 reinvention personality types. Number 1 is a map maker. And I'm going to read this because I want to make sure that I get this clear and on point. So map makers are awesome at charting out goals. And if you're that person, you like to have a very detailed plan for executing your goals. So you want to chart it out, and you want to lay out that detailed plan to execute your goals. But your challenge is to stay open to fresh ideas and different directions, so that you don't close off options for your reinvention and ways to move forward. So sometimes map makers get so invested in that plan that they've created that actually kind of shifting based on more information, that's hard, right? It's like, no, this is my plan. I've got to follow my plan. So like I said, the superpower of map makers is that they have a plan and they map it out. However, sometimes that superpower can trip you up because you want to hold on to the plan a little too tightly. Okay, second personality type is navigator. So navigators, if you're a navigator, you are incredibly adaptable, and you do have a knack for managing change. But your challenge is that your level of comfort fluctuates depending on the situation. And sometimes you have a need for reassurance that can block your progress. So with navigators, it really depends on the situation. Like sometimes you're like out there, you're like, okay, I can do this, but then you get triggered and you're like, no, whoa, back it up here. And that's a navigator. So you got to know that, like, sometimes you just like need so much reassurance. Like, is this going to work? Is this going to be okay? Oh, I don't know, that it can really hang you up. So that's navigator. Third personality type is trailblazer. And if you are a trailblazer, you welcome change. You are like, bring it on. And you're willing to take risks in your world. But the challenge is that you get over ambitious. So, that piece, it's like you take on so much change that like now you're like overwhelmed, right? And what that does is it scatters your energy, and that makes it tough for you to accomplish your goal. So you are just like, I'm out there, I'm doing all the things, I'm going to do it all at once. And then all of a sudden it's like, nothing's getting done because I'm so scattered. That's the trailblazer. So as I said, you can find that out, but let's take a moment. Let's do a poll here to see, like, just on how I've described them, how are you identifying? Would you say that you are a map maker, a navigator, or a trailblazer? Take a moment and say, all right, that's what I think I am. All right. I love it. Map makers, close to 20%, navigators, 60%, a little over 60%, and trailblazers, close to 20%. All right, good. Love it. There is no right or wrong answer. As I said, there is only customizing your strategy for your personality. Okay, so let me give you some tips for turbocharging your progress. All right, let's get this moving here. All right, so tips for turbocharging your progress. So reinvention is a journey. It's not a one-time event. It's actually a skill. It's both a skill and a journey. I talk about that in my Audible original, Mastering the Skill of Reinvention. It's a skill and a journey. But the journey of reinvention, it's very important that you do a few things because it's a journey, you're going to be on that path for a while. And one of the biggest challenges is that people lose steam or they fall off. And then all of a sudden, like you've done some things and then you're like, I'm not getting where I want to go. So here are some tips for doing that. So first, you want to reward yourself for hitting interim goals. And the key word here is interim. Don't wait until you hit your big goal to be like, okay, I'll just wait until I get to that and then I'll celebrate. No. You have to reward yourself for all the interim things that you're doing that bring you towards your goal. What that does is it gives you a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. And it's that energy of satisfaction and accomplishment and progress that helps you keep moving even when things are feeling like they're a little slow or whatever. And one of the skills that I always talk about is tallying progress. That's also in mastering this skill, tallying your progress. So not only are you tallying it so you notice it, you want to reward yourself for hitting interim goals. So that's like, okay, if I have like 3 virtual coffees this month, I'm going to treat myself to a massage or whatever it is. Whatever your action plan is, when you accomplish it, reward yourself. And, so that you feel like good about like, yeah, I got this done. I'm going to move forward. The opposite side of that, or I should say the partner, because they're not opposite. They are partner. They belong together, is to set up an external accountability structure. So that's the flip side of rewarding yourself. It's holding yourself accountable for achieving your goals, for showing up. And this is a thing that helps you overcome that it can be challenging to push yourself to take action. So that's why you want to do external. One of the things that I say is that the same energy that it takes for you to push yourself to do something is the energy that you could use actually doing it itself. So when you have an external accountability structure, then that is holding you accountable so you can put all your energy into doing it. So quick example, I hired a personal trainer because I have a personal goal of like working on my health. And yesterday I was on a call and I was like, oh my God, I texted, I'm not going to get to the thing because this call is running long. And the trainer said to me, we can push it back a half an hour or an hour if you need. That is that external accountability structure that was holding me accountable for the goal that I wanted. So I just didn't sacrifice that goal for work. And I was like, okay, great, I will do that. So you don't want to skip accountability. Some people are like, all they do is hold themselves accountable and they don't reward themselves. So if you're that person, rewards, add it in. But other people are like, I'm so motivated by rewards. I don't need the accountability piece, but that's crucial because accountability, rewarding yourself without accountability. I like to say it's like, eating chocolate, but not stepping on the scale. Like it'll feel great when you're like enjoying, but you're going to be a bit bitter when it comes time to like zip up those jeans. So make sure you have both as a part of your plan. And then the third is to seek expert guidance. And the truth around all of this is that guidance can come from many areas. It can come from friends, family, colleagues, strangers, the internet, lots of places to get guidance on accomplishing your goals. And part of this is that you want to stay open to where things come from because it's kind of magical where you can get information or that key piece that moves you forward. But there's one important rule that you need to follow on this, and you have to seek counsel, not opinions. That's the rule. You must seek counsel, not opinions. If someone's not been through their own reinvention journey, any advice or feedback that they offer is opinion, right? They haven't been through it. So their recommendations are based on what they think might happen. It's like conjecture. They're just making guesses. If you're going to use the analogy of athletics, it's like having someone coach you in tennis that's never played the game, right? So you got to make sure that you're seeking counsel, expert counsel, right? You want people who have not only lived experience, but they've guided other people through the kind of results that you want, right? That's why I went to a trainer. I could go into the gym and, do whatever, but no, I want that person that knows that when I get busy, I hit that roadblock. He just says, come half an hour later, right? You want expert guidance. People who do that, they offer counsel because they know what works and they know what doesn't work. And their recommendations are grounded in real experience. It's grounded in facts. And so they've got the insight, they've got the wisdom, they know the journey. So if I can just leave you with that one thought, it's to seek that counsel, not opinions. So make sure that you're careful about who you're listening to when it comes to accomplishing your reinvention goals. All right. Now, 2 steps to go deeper. One is that I had an Audible original just dropped last week, Pivot and Pursue It. It's a 90-minute deep dive masterclass where I walk you through in detail exactly what we talked about here. So like all that goal setting that I just had to give you a quick overview for, I go through it step by step in that Audible. So you can listen to that. If you have already a membership to Audible, it's included in Audible Plus. So you don't even need a credit for it. Or if you don't, just get a trial for Audible and then download it and listen to it. So don't say I said that, but that's what you can do. And then, as I said, make sure that you know your reinvention personality so that you can begin mapping out your plan accordingly. So you can do that at planetreinvention.com/Twill. That's where you can take that quiz. You can get the 8 questions. You'll know what you are. And then there are coaching action steps that are customized to your personality type. So if you want those, you'll have an opportunity to get that as well. All right, now it's time for questions.
Wonderful. Wow. I'm absorbing. I'm metabolism. I'm taking vigorous notes. Thank you so much. What an incredible presentation. We have a question coming in from Cheryl, who asks, when you are a trailblazer, how do you rein in all that you're doing?
Ooh, love that question, Cheryl. Okay, so Cheryl, what you do is that you start to stack your goals. So what you want to do is all the things that you want to accomplish, look at them and say, and I talk about this, actually, where do I talk about this? In Mastering the Skill of Reinvention, which is like 6.5 hours. So it's more of a commitment to listen to, but it's called Cascade Goals. So what you do is you look at which goal, if you accomplish it first, it's going to make all the other goals easier. So that's what you want, is you want to look at all the things that you're accomplishing or want to accomplish and say, which thing, if I do it, makes all the other things I want to do easier? And then do that thing first, because then it unlocks momentum for the other stuff. So then you're going to start stacking based on that. And then you're going to get there faster because trailblazers like to go fast. They want all the results quick. So this strategy allows it to be things to move more quickly.
Wonderful. I identify as a trailblazer, so that was super helpful for me as well. Mm-hmm. I actually, our audience today was a little shy on questions. So fortunately, I have some of my own, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. No problem.
So I have also completely reinvented myself. And so I'm in my version of an Act 2. And I read something about how often and easy it is to conflate our hobbies with our jobs, and our jobs with careers, and our careers with our vocations, right? What we feel called to do. And within that tendency to conflate all of these things, it then becomes hard to manage our expectations, right? Around loving what we do as an ideal. And so I was just wondering if you could speak to that a little bit, having really listened inwards and done such kind of deep and courageous work to make those discernments for yourself, and just knowing kind of when to pivot and when to draw the line between, like, this is what I'm doing to support myself and this is what I'm doing to fill my heart.
Right. That is such an amazing question. I love this question because it takes it to the heart of all of it. It's what you said is loving what I do. But remember that I said careers are a mechanism to delivering the life that we want. So what it's really about is loving my life, right? So when we expand that vision to say, I love my life, and now you can start to say, if I have these components in my life, like what's the mix I need to have in my life that gives me this sense of overall fulfillment? And so maybe at one stage of your life, having that career that you had before would like allow that space for all of life to feel good. But that can change, right? And so when that mix changes, it's more like I need now this particular thing in my life in this amount, and I need this other thing in my life in this amount. Yeah. So let me give some permission to people who are maybe feeling like I've got kids, or I want to have kids, and I don't really like what I do, but I got to stay at this job because it's like, supporting me and my family. Mm-hmm. What I want to say to you is that that is absolutely part of it, because you would not have a happy life if you were not supporting your family, right? That's part of having this whole life happiness. So it's about expanding that vision and saying, okay, so right now I have to be more highly indexed in this area because the demands of this area are bigger, but here are some things that fill my soul that I need to make sure are still present. So I still have the satisfaction of having all the things that I want. It's just that the balance is changing. Yeah. And then know that it's 5 to 7 years. Every 5 to 7 years, we go through a new era and we are different people. So I tell people that don't think this is for the rest of your life. It's for the next 5 to 7 years. And then at that moment, like if you're raising kids, that's a whole new era, right? Like it's a whole new generation. Demands are different. Or even as people, we're different because we've had 7 years of experience doing something, and we may wake up and say, okay, life needs to shift again. Mm-hmm. Let your future self make that decision in that moment. You make the decision today for the next 5 to 7 years.
Thank you for that permission. I hope that resonated with some of our audience. It seems as though this is also provoking more curiosity. We have some great questions coming in. Lisa asks, my curiosity is greater than my perseverance. What advice do you have for someone who loses steam and changes goals whenever something new stimulates my curiosity?
Okay, I love that. That's a question of focused, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the skills in mastering the skill of reinvention is about staying focused. Lisa, that was her name, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so Lisa, what you need an external accountability structure. Right? So you need to have something outside yourself holding you accountable for staying focused on a goal, and that sounding board that would help you discern whether or not this new thing that's piquing your curiosity is a pattern. Remember, I said patterns have to shift if we want to have the life we say we want. Is that just a pattern that needs to shift? Or do you need to follow that path of curiosity? So you have to have an external sounding board to begin to practice that skill so that eventually you'll be able to discern it for yourself.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Let's see. Next step we have Bob asks, what advice do you have for someone who is retired but wants to live a rewarding life that he loves?
I love that. That's the first thing I say in mastering the skill of reinvention. You retired from a career, but you have not retired from life. Love it. That's right. So what it is that your mix has changed, right? Your mix has changed. You may want to still contribute professionally, but it no longer needs to be at a particular level to satisfy other lifestyle concerns. So now you have more flexibility in the professional area. And then you also want to look at what are the things that fulfill me personally? Like, what did I always want to do? that I never got a chance to do because I was too busy doing these other things. It's a great time to pursue that. Or what are the things that I've always been curious about? Like when I was, say, 7, did I want to do, and I never gave myself permission to do? And is there a way that I can do this now? And start to play with it. So make it about play and exploration in this phase, and just understand that it's a change in mix.
Yes. Sometimes we just need that permission as adults to play. It's becomes less frequent. The more wisdom we gather. We probably have time for about 1 or 2 more questions. Sandra asks, when you say seek counsel, not options,
Opinions.
Opinions. Okay. So to clarify, Sandra, seek counsel, not opinions. She says, seeking expert counsel, how do you know that you're getting the right person and the right counsel that you need?
Great question. All right. I'm going to share a moment of bias. Okay. Because my industry, coaching, is filled with coaches that, actually anybody can say they're a coach, right? Nobody has to get any type of training to say that they're a coach. They can just be like, I'm a mindset coach. And then that's it. So what you really want to be able to do is you want to check 2 things. One, you really want to check, actually 3 things. You want to check, so what's their training? What's their training? Is it with an accredited program by whatever industry? And that goes across the board. Like the trainer that I went to for personal training, he's accredited by the national industry. So you want somebody who's accredited, because that just means that they're willing to learn what it takes to work with people in a healthy way. Okay, that's important. The second thing is, again, you want to know, have they guided other people to the result that you want? Now, sometimes people are new and, then it should be adjusted accordingly, but you want somebody that understands the journey. The third thing is that you want people who have gone through their own journey. So there are a lot of people that say, I help people reinvent themselves, but their reinvention is going to help people reinvent themselves. So they never faced that themselves. Like they never had to solve the problem to go from one successful career to another successful career. I always say, from a reinvention standpoint, you don't want to go to that coach. You want somebody that had worked and was successful. I was successful on Wall Street, even though I hated it. That was what made it even worse. Yeah. Right. You can be successful at something and hate it. And then made that leap, and then went to go coach others in the result that they already accomplished somewhere else. So that's what you want. So check those 3 things.
Wonderful. Okay, last one. Coming in hot from Jerry. What if external accountability hasn't worked before because you failed to do what you committed to do and eventually just stopped reporting that to someone else?
Okay, so Jerry, what I'm going to say is that then that's a mindset issue, right? So that right there is showing you, it's just data. Okay. So no judgment at all. Like reinvention is a judgment-free zone. So what that is showing you is that there's mindset work to be done. That's all. And if you had an accountability structure that might help you do some work with the mindset, that might say, I noticed you're dropping off. Like that's what a good coach does. Hey, I haven't heard from you. Like what's going on here that you're not showing up here? So it just is a signal that, there's some hidden patterns that you want to uncover and some hidden beliefs that need to be worked through so that you can then start to keep your promises to yourself. And we all struggle with this. Trust me. I was like yesterday, I don't know about this. But I've done enough mindset work to recognize when I want to fail myself, right? When I fail myself, and then kind of recalibrate. And then I don't judge myself. If I really just don't do it that day, no judgment, because every day is a new opportunity to get back on and have it be different. So there you go.
Amen. One thing I love that you've done is you've identified the types of problems. Each time I've read these questions that can be kind of broad scope or kind of high level, you kind of honed in to say, this is a mindset issue. This is a focus issue. And it makes what can feel a little bit intangible, very tangible. So that's a beautiful problem-solving technique that I just learned.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for that. Coach Pamela, I'm going to ask you to pop up, if you don't mind, your last slide that provides your book and contact information. That was something a couple people asked for just a little more time with while I wrap up today's presentation. Okay. And while you pull that up, I will just take this moment to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart on behalf of Twill, on behalf of Twill's audience that's joined in today and your own. It's one thing to dream and aspire towards paths kind of led by our passion. It's a completely different brand of empowerment to feel equipped with steps to actually pursue and live out those paths. From our audience's interest and engagement alone, it's easy to see how personally and broadly your work resonates with each of us. So thank you for that. If you want more content from the upside on different ways to build a life that you're proud of, or lean further into curiosities and callings, I'm going to pop a few links into the chat right now. And these will also be sent in the follow-up email that accompanies the recording. On behalf of Twill, I'd like to extend our sincere appreciation to each of you for being here today with us live. We hope that you enjoyed it. Please be on the lookout and tune in for next month's webinar, Set Healthy Boundaries and Make Time for Self-Care, which you'll be able to register for in the coming weeks. I want to thank you all for coming and continue to invest in your well-being. Thank you, Coach Pamela. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Be well.